Hello and welcome to Analog Insights. In today's episode, Jules and I review the Intrepid 4x5 Black Edition that comes with 3D printed parts instead of the more traditional wooden front and rear standards that Intrepid has become famous for. Intrepid listened carefully to the community in the last couple of years and integrated a whole new set of features for this latest iteration of their cameras, the September 2022 update as they are calling it, that spans not just this 4x5 inch camera that we have here, but also the 5x7 and 8x10. We see a whole new set of features that we will discuss in a minute, but in order to test this new 4x5 inch camera properly, we wanted to do some proper shots, and because of that arranged for some appointments at special locations here in Munich. The first shot, or the first shoot, took place at Linhof's headquarters, which happened to be based here in Munich, and we found it interesting to tie a connection between this latest iteration of the Intrepid camera that very much fits to today's market conditions and the original Linhof Technika, which is a very famous camera, and since the headquarter retains that very nice vintage vibe, we wanted to capture that on film here. The second shoot took place at the Deutsche Museum, which is a popular science museum here in Munich that got recently renovated, and some of the parts already reopened, and we went to the motor and aviation halls as well as to the space exhibition. The third shoot took place at the Boilerman Bar, which is an American whiskey bar located at Munich's 25 Hours Hotel, which has a really nice and cozy atmosphere in our opinion, and they were kind enough to let us shoot a typical bar scene there and even treated us for a drink. The fourth location that we picked is a special library located in Munich's City Hall with very old and traditional wooden bookshelves. It has a very special atmosphere in our opinion, and we wanted to capture that as well. Please note that you cannot just go in there to take a photograph, but actually have to make an appointment and then be lucky to be allowed to take one. We were really lucky and are really happy to have this as part of this review. To round things off, we also wanted to take a portrait with a 210mm lens at f5.6, so wide open, to test the camera in such a condition. In that case, we just did that in Jules' lab. So we hope you enjoy this episode and our review of the Intrepid 4x5 inch Black Edition. So let's get some context first and better understand the evolution of Intrepid's cameras. Intrepid originally came out of an industrial design project at university that applied open source philosophy to the film camera world and wanted to enable everyone to build a large format camera at home. And out of that project came the major insight that there would certainly be an audience for an inexpensive large format camera that has a homemade feel and only offers rudimentary features at first. And over time, Intrepid then evolved, created much more mature cameras, the communication became fantastic, and the company managed to build a community of enthusiasts and large format photography newbies around their brand. And I think they did that in part by offering high value content to the community. For instance, you can find a whole set of videos of how to get started with large format photography. So how to open up the camera, how to set it up, how to do basic swing, tilt and shift movements, how to use lenses and which lenses to use and so on. So you can find all sorts of content that they tie then together with their online shop and their offering. And by doing that in a very nice and good way, I think they also contribute to the film photography community nowadays. And by now, the camera that we see here, it has kind of grown out of that homemade feel mode a bit, and certainly aspires to catering to more professional ambitions as well. So we found this sentence here on the website, and I would like to quote that here from there. Quote, "Whether you are new to large format photography or a seasoned professional, the Intrepid 4x5" is the ideal large format field camera. It is super compact, lightweight and simple to use while offering a huge range of advanced features, unquote. And of course this sounds super promising, and we just wanted to take this camera through its paces and use it as much as possible for as ambitious projects and photographs as possible. So let's take a closer look at its features and how it performed. So what about the features? The front standard offers the usual rise, fall, tilt and swing movements that can all be controlled independently from each other. The aluminum base and rear-controlled linear focus allow for more accurate focusing, which was particularly striking when shooting the 210mm lens wide open during the portrait. But in general, you can really see that it lives up to more advanced applications and really works nicely. There are also zeroing notches on the sides of the front standard, as well as a guide ruler on the base for zeroing and front swing and shift. As a result of all this and the new material choices, the front standard controls are much more robust in comparison to the earlier Mark III and Mark IV models that Intrepid had sold in the past. And you can really see that leap here and how the features have improved over time. Interestingly, the bellows are magnetically attached on the front and mounted to a plastic frame on the rear and then screwed to the camera. They can be easily removed, and as Intrepid will soon be introducing and making back bellows as well as an alternative. The rear standard can be rotated by 360 degrees in order to quickly switch between landscape and portrait modes. And thanks to the universal grav lock back, you can basically attach any kind of back, so a wide variety of different film backs. For instance, a medium format back would be possible with everything from 6x6 to 6x17. but also the instant film backs, including the famous Lomo Graph-Lock Instax back, and of course the Intrepid 4x5 enlarger. In terms of lenses, you can basically use all standard Copal shutter 4x5 inch lenses from 75 millimeters all the way up to 300 millimeters. 75 millimeters usually requires a recessed lens board, which we didn't have here for our tests, so Jules quickly created a fitting small adapter that let us shoot even wider lenses. So thanks to the adapter we could even shoot 55 millimeter lenses, but with the disadvantage that the camera bed would be visible in the frame. And Intrepid actually is working on that problem, and currently or will be launching an Intrepid recessed board soon, which in combination with the back bellows will allow for the use of a much wider set of lenses. So even 65 millimeter and 55 millimeter will then be possible without anything being visible in the frame. The ground glass is very bright and comes with a half-inch grid, and our camera came fitted with an additional Fresnel. It is usually sold as an add-on product, but Intrepid recommends buying it along with the camera, and for us, of course, here it worked really nicely and great. The base plate has a dual tripod mounts for all types of standard tripod mounts, and since the camera is fairly light, you can in theory use any kind of tripod, but we would always recommend to use something a little bit heavier and sturdier in order to prevent your camera from tipping over in any kind of situation, and of course also protect not just the camera but also your lenses and accessories. As is common, the camera can be folded when it is not in use, and it's very easy to unfold as well and to fold away, and like that it becomes a really nice tiny package for putting it in a backpack and similar traveling applications. So what about the handling and our personal impressions? If you are coming from a more professional Linhof, Arca Swiss or Toyo field camera, please know that the Intrepid camera will not feel as refined. And yet it would be unfair to compare these professional cameras to the Intrepid camera, since it's aiming at a completely different price point and already starts at 380 pounds in the case of our black edition here. And also is facing a completely different market situation. The Intrepid cameras are clearly directed at enthusiasts, at newbies starting out with large format photography, and only recently, since they've added a couple of features, they're also trying to cater to more professional use cases. And of course, they don't have the same amount of demand as was common at the time when Linhof produced its finest camera creations. And it was completely common for professional photographers to have such a large format camera in order to cater to the client needs at the time. So Linhof had a completely different budget available for research and development and for creating these cameras initially. and had of course also, or were selling a completely different set of cameras at the time for really high prices. And even now, if you look at these Linhof cameras, Arca Swiss cameras and so on, these are really expensive. And here we have Intrepid doing something completely different and catering to different demands. So we would caution you against comparing them directly, because it's really an apples and oranges comparison. And yet, as our review shows and demonstrates, in our opinion, you can certainly use the Intrepid cameras for professional applications, and they live up to most demands. Our finding would be, in terms of handling, the camera performed really, really well in our test. The film magazines snuggle perfectly into place. Turning the back and switching backs also works really nicely. Tilt, rise, fall, and swing movements work nicely. The only thing that is a bit unfortunate is that the base plate only offers these few fixed steps to bring the lens forward, and this is maybe something that they could improve. Visually, the camera makes quite a good first impression in our opinion, and especially the black edition that we have here is really, really beautiful and also feels more refined than the wooden versions. The magnetic connection between the front standard and the bellows is also really cool, but the only thing is, when it's fully extended, you have a little bit of a weird gut feeling, and you always feel like, is this really holding it up when it's fully extended? And just to demonstrate that, we had some accidental touches to just demonstrate how little accidental touching suffices to then remove the bellows here, because it really feels like the magnets are not strong enough to hold it fully when it is fully extended. But again, this is a detail that can be improved. What also stands out are the relatively long screws here that are placed in an area where you need to fiddle around a lot with your fingers, and of course there's potential that you scratch your hands a little bit. And in our opinion, Intrepid could have prevented that by using shorter screws in this location, and at least we assume that this is a deliberate choice because they just wanted to have one set of screws for assembling these cameras. You can basically find the same screws at different locations around the camera, and it's just easier to do that. But again, this would be an easy fix to have slightly shorter screws here and prevent people from scratching themselves when they have to fiddle with this knob here in that section. So if you are either starting out or occasionally shooting a large format camera, and even if you are aspiring to shoot more ambitious projects when you shoot them occasionally, in our opinion, the latest iteration of these Intrepid cameras certainly live up to that, and we hope we could demonstrate that with our review and the different shots that we took here. In our opinion, it fulfills most professional requirements, and you can really feel how much Intrepid are listening to the community and make an effort in implementing these changes. So really thumbs up for that. In our opinion, this is a great starting point if you are just starting out with large format photography, you are interested in it. Intrepid offers the full package, not just great cameras, regardless of whether you want to go for 8x10 or maybe 4x5 inch, but also then a couple of videos that get you started and help you work out all the different things. And because of the relatively fair price point, it gives you more money, or lets you invest more money in lenses, and this would be our core recommendation. As we showed in this review, large format photography only starts to become a particular joy if you go beyond the 150mm standard lens and have different things in your setup, something wider, something more suited for portraits, and then large format photography really starts to shine and becomes more interesting. If you can really use the different features, the tilt and shift movements for wide angle architecture photography, or suddenly shoot a portrait wide open with a 210mm lens, which is really challenging doing it on a large format camera, then this whole system really starts to shine. And here then it comes in handy to have a fairer price point for these cameras. So we can highly recommend taking a look at the Intrepid cameras, especially that latest iteration that was just released. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Analog Insights and our review of the Intrepid 4x5" Black Edition. Quite a leap for Intrepid, a lot of fun to use, and it certainly lives up to more professional and ambitious photographic use cases, as you could see in our review. We really enjoyed using it and can highly recommend you take a look at the latest iteration of Intrepid cameras. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, please remember to like it and maybe even share it with your friends. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to our channel. Jules, Greg, and I really appreciate each and every subscriber coming our way. So thanks for watching. I hope to see you soon. Bye.